Hello and welcome to Global News Factory. I'm your host Vikrant. Germany flew into the Red Sea like it was on a NATO cruise and came out with a laser to the face. Not from pirates, not from the Houthis, but from a Chinese warship. Yes, China just gave Germany a mid-air spanking and Berlin cannot stop crying about it. So here is what happened. Germany's defense ministry says one of their military aircraft was targeted by a laser during an EU mission to protect ships in the Red Sea. The villain, they claim, was a Chinese frigate, lurking in international waters like a Bond villain with better aim. But here is what they are not shouting from the rooftops. German outlet Der Spiegel reported that the German plane was approaching the Chinese vessel aggressively. This is a fact you will never find in Western media. I was reading Reuters, I was reading AFP, The Guardian. This fact was nowhere to be seen. Why? Because this does not suit their narrative. Although publications like Newsweek have mentioned this. So, you fly toward a Chinese warship rapidly, halfway around the world, and act stern when it does not send you flowers. This was not aggression, this was self-defense with style. You walk up to a dragon, you get the fire. Or in this case, a class 4 laser. Germany's reaction? Immediate withdrawal. They packed up their mission and ran back home like a kid who poked a beehive and got stung. Turns out, Aspides is not just the name of the EU operation, it is also the sound Germany made when the laser hit. Aspides! Meanwhile, China's navy is calmly doing drills, refueling at sea and practicing live fire exercises. They are not hiding, they are announcing, we are here, deal with it. And now, enter NATO's motivational speaker in a tie, Mark Rutte. He said, hold your laughter. If Xi Jinping attacks Taiwan, he will first call his junior partner Putin and say, hey, can you keep NATO busy in Europe? Because NATO stands in my way to Taiwan. Sure, because world wars now start with phone a friend. Apparently, Xi and Putin are like teenage boys planning mischief over FaceTime. And here comes the real punchline. Rutte says, if we do not increase defense spending, we will all have to learn Russian. So now it is official. If you do not support 5% GDP on tanks, missiles, and laser blinding toys, you will wake up one day in Berlin ordering coffee in Russian. As if Germany does not have bigger problems like energy bills, stagnating wages, and exploding kebab prices. Let's be clear. Russia lives in NATO's head rent-free. Now China has leased the upstairs apartment and both are throwing a house party while Germany stands outside, blindfolded, wondering what went wrong. So here is the moral of the story. Do not start fights in someone else's backyard, especially if they brought lasers and you brought paperwork. So Germany is crying in the Red Sea. In the Baltic, 8 other European countries are howling together like a NATO boy band. Their complaint? Russia is jamming our GNSS signals. Let's simplify this. GNSS or Global Navigation Satellite System is just the fancy umbrella term for all satellite navigation, like GPS, which is American, Galileo, which is European for EU, then we have GLONASS, which is Russian, and we have BeiDou, which is Chinese. There is also an Indian version which is called Navik. So basically, it is how your ship, plane, or even phone knows where it is on the map. Now imagine your compass starts acting drunk at sea. That is what they are crying about. So what happened? Russia's secret military stations are allegedly messing with the signal waves in the Baltic. And now Estonia, Finland, France, Poland, Ukraine, and a few other usual suspects have gone crying to the UN like it is a parent-teacher meeting. But here is the kicker. What on earth is France doing in the Baltic Sea? Looking for baguettes? No, they are not there for yoga retreats either. They are hunting Russian oil tankers. Yes, the whole purpose of this grand NATO tour in the Baltic is to crack down on Russia's so-called shadow fleet, the very same fleet that has been steadily expanding thanks to, guess who? EU sellers. Over 40% of these tankers were bought from EU nations themselves, who are now complaining they cannot track them. Classic. And just when you thought it could not get more absurd, here comes Task Force X. No, not the Marvel version. This is NATO's high-tech toy box deploying unmanned drones. They are called sail drones to snoop around Russian oil ships. Basically, remote-controlled boats doing surveillance stuff in Russia's backyard. And they act shocked when Russia decides to jam the signals. Let's ask a simple question. Who is the actual aggressor here? See, Russia did not sail into the North Sea with drones and start scanning Dutch oil ships. But NATO did exactly that right in Russia's maritime zone. And when Russia turns off the lights and fries the compass, NATO calls foul. Meanwhile, Russia keeps adding 7 tankers a month to its ghost fleet, now 343 strong, navigating through sanctions like a shadow ninja. The West bans their oil and Russia buys more ships. The West cries about jamming and Russia builds more radio towers. The West sells them the ships and then complains those ships are being used. This whole thing is less about navigation signals and more about Europe realizing that Russia is 10 steps ahead in the sanctions game. The tantrums? That is just the sound of a losing hand flipping the table. And moving on to Ursula von der Leyen. She has just pulled the oldest trick in the Brussels book. When cornered, scream Russia and run. Facing a no-confidence vote in the EU Parliament this Thursday, instead of offering answers, von der Leyen went full drama mode. She called the MEPs pushing the motion, wait for it, conspiracy theorists and puppets of Putin. Yes, apparently demanding transparency over a shady multi-billion euro vaccine deal now makes you a Russian agent. Who knew asking, "Hey Ursula, where are the Pfizer texts?" qualifies as treason? This is not just deflection, it is the height of shamelessness. Instead of addressing the European Court of Justice ruling, which held her office accountable for hiding communications with Pfizer's CEO, she doubled down on her innocence and labeled critics as extremists. "There is no proof they have any answers," she said, and then dropped this gem. I am quoting, "Many are supported by our enemies and their puppet masters in Russia." Wow! What enemies? Which puppet masters? No names, no facts, just spooky music and fog machines. Classic EU theater. Let's break this down. 4 years back, von der Leyen was texting Pfizer's CEO Albert Bourla while negotiating a vaccine contract worth billions. Then those texts mysteriously disappeared. Journalists tried to access them, EU officials stonewalled. The court said that is illegal. And now MEPs want accountability. But instead of producing the receipts, Ursula is screaming Kremlin and pointing fingers. This is pure bureaucratic gaslighting at its finest. In any real democracy, this kind of secret deal making and legal defiance would be a career ender. But in Brussels, it gets you a second term, or at least that is what von der Leyen is banking on. Thursday's no confidence vote may not pass. The deck is stacked in her favor, but the stink of this Pfizer scandal is not going away. And no amount of yelling Putin is going to disinfect that. And thank you very much for staying with me. You're watching GNF.